Well, I want to go back to the beginning. Where did your acting journey begin? What did it for you?
I didn't grow up in the arts. I didn't take drama class in school. Truly just stumbled upon acting around age 21. And I went to a showcase, like an art showcase, and kind of got the acting bug from there.
Was there a particular role or moments that made you know that this was something you could actually do and have a sustainable career? If so, what was that moment for you?
I never looked at it that way, even when I was work or trying to work in this business. Like I never felt like I got a role and was like, oh, I can do this. It's almost like when you don't know, when you don't know better. I didn't know what I didn't know, so it was kind of like everything that was happening at the time when I first moved to LA was just kind of icing on the cake. I was in a new city, pursuing this thing. I really didn't have a full grasp on what it was about, but I just had such drive and ambition to do it because I just felt instinctually that I could.
Well, this new role, of course, has you taking on real life gangster Frank Lucas for the Godfather of Harlem. That had to be a scary role for you to say yes to, I would imagine. What made you want this?
It wasn't scary for me. It was a challenge, but this is why I do it, which
Yeah.
is why I feel like sports, basketball in general for me is synonymous with what I feel like I do now. Because you only get better by actually doing the thing, and you're only as good as the people you work with and the people you surround yourself with. The opportunity to play Frank Lucas, to play a real person, was just something I just simply could not pass up.
Well, where did you start to build your version of Frank Lucas? Like, what did that look like for you? Was it deep research or where did you go?
Yeah, it started at the beginning. I guess it's cliche, but it started at the beginning for me. So it's an odd approach because we sort of have the outline work of Frank Lucas because of American Gangster in a sense. So we have a prominent, prolific actor playing one of the most notable, gangsters in American history. Everyone knows about it. Everyone has seen it for the most part. And so for me, it's about trying to carve out my own niche, my own version of how I saw Frank in his early years. But yeah, just trying to figure out who the man was. That was
Yeah.
was more important to me. Like I'm not playing a gangster. I'm not playing a drug dealer. I'm playing a man who is in these circumstances and situations. I think part of being an actor is allowing myself to try to navigate the intricacies of who you are as a person, not like what you've done.
And it's interesting because I used the word scary earlier when asking about taking on that role, and that clearly was the wrong word. I feel like a better word probably would be bold. Like I feel like it's a
Mhm.
bold choice, for you to say, I want to play Frank Lucas for all the reasons that
Yeah.
you just cited, but you obviously were completely unafraid to do that. Where does that confidence come from for you?
Yeah, if you were able to look at it from an eagle eye, right, you would say, why would I ever have a need to play a character like this? Like I've been able to cultivate a career off sort of a specific niche.
Mhm.
I kind of felt like I dwelled in the spaces of relationships and the nuances of what those things are portrayed on screen. And I could have very well continued to sort of carve out that lane for myself. The confidence is in the preparation. That's all it is. Like I don't question myself on the things that I know, just as much as I know that I'm breathing oxygen. Like I know that the sun is out. Like these things are not subjective. These are things that I know. And so I know the work I put in. I know how dedicated I am to the craft and how much I have sacrificed and give to this space. And so you can put me really in any situation. I feel like I'll figure out a way to navigate and hopefully prevail, or at least give it a good shot.
I mean, and then some, I would say, because at this point, you've now been able to work against both Oscar winners and Viola Davis and Forrest Whitaker.
Absolutely.
What lessons have you learned from each of them that maybe, or even their trajectories in this industry that maybe you carry with you in your work right now?
I always struggled early on with I think an early set of like imposter syndrome because I didn't feel like I earned where I was at the time because of who I was working with. I
Mhm.
was working with Viola and working with Glenn Turman, and I mean, they've been in the industry 40, 50 years. And I feel like people go to Juilliard and Yale and study this art. And here I am, didn't go to college, walked away from a scholarship to pursue the business. And it took us some soul searching and also just to figure out my purpose and why I was doing this, to understand why and where I was and why, God put me in the position that I was in,
Yeah.
to work with Forrest, even now, and work with Viola and other amazing actors I've worked with. It's so hard to retain like specific things they've said to me, but the impact is just lasting because of their impression that they had on me. It's like, being able to be in the gym with like one of the best basketball players in the world. Like, say if you're able to play with LeBron James or like shoot around with him, pick his brain, there's just a deep well of knowledge and perspective. So it gives me a guideline. It gives me sort of a blueprint on what kind of career I would like for myself. Because I truly feel like whatever direction I run towards I'll find success in that.
Let's talk about some of those characters that you've brought to life over the course of your career so far. You've played an athlete before a couple of times, actually. What is it that you think is the synergy between sports and films? I mean, obviously, both sports and with films, the idea is to tell a story. One is nonfiction, one is fictional, or at least rooted in fact, but presented fictionally. But ultimately, what do you think it is? Like, why do those two worlds align so well in your estimation?
I just feel like sports are one of the ultimate equalizers in our society. Regardless if you know what's happening in a soccer game, you can see the intense emotion and you see the hard work, right? That translates no matter what sport you're watching, right? I think film is a reflection of life around us. Like, you're able to go back and look in the past decades, you'll be able to see the relevancy in that, how certain characters were portrayed at that time and how they're portrayed now based on, the life that we live in. We can't tell that story without involving sports.
Speaking of sports, I want to go back to February and just remind you of a couple things.
Let's take it up a notch. Running out the clock. I shoot my shot. I cannot be stopped. Let's take it up a notch.
Look at this. Okay.
Oh,
turn around.
Flynn with the blow by and the sweet lane. Rome is literally on fire.
Did we miss something? Were you secretly a college all-star? Should you be in March Madness? Should we be talking about you as this great player? That what is this from?
That's the story we're not talking about, actually. Right. That's the story no one knows about. Yeah, basketball has been an integral part of my life and shaping my perspective on how to navigate this business too. I'm dedicated to being good at things, like when I start them. And so basketball was something I wasn't good at first. Like, first couple of years in high school, I didn't make the team. My senior year, I made the team, but I had a small role. In my senior year, I finally carved out a role where I was a lot more featured, and then I got hurt. So I never really got to reach glory. I never got to reach a moment where I was on the floor in those pivotal seconds and minutes of the game because I got hurt. Wherever I go, if I go work in Atlanta, Chicago, New York, LA, like, I've played basketball in every city I've worked in. Played competitively. I played in leagues in every city I've worked in. I played in every really competitive league you can play in. Like, I played in the Drew League in LA, which is one of the most competitive leagues, which is sanctioned by the NBA. And so I was guarding a bunch of NBA players every now and then, and it'd be like, wait a minute, don't I know you from TV? Yeah, a couple guys. When I was in New York filming Godfather of Harlem, I played in Dykeman, which is a staple in the community there and also just the basketball community in general. And to be out there and playing with them, it was an incredible feeling because, like basketball, it's an equalizer. It's not subjective based, it's skill based. So no matter how much I want to act this basketball into the net, it just don't work that way. I have to physically put it in there, which means I have to physically get by a person or get a shot up in front of them and make it. And so it's a challenge that always presents itself different ways when I play basketball. So basketball's been a crazy journey for me. I went back to college and played for like half a year. And I was able to go to practice and I went to away games and it was just a whole experience I didn't get to have because I walked away from my scholarship. Here we are now, been trying to get in the NBA All-Star game for literally like 4 or 3 years. Every year didn't work, and then finally last minute, I feel like they just kind of said, oh, fine, come on.
Okay, there's the early favorite for MVP, right?
The shots fell. Sometimes it could be a night where the shots don't fall, but they did that night.
Where did you go back to college to play basketball a couple years ago?
Yeah, so I went to Bethesda University, which is out here in California. So my brother plays overseas. He's in Venezuela right now. So his name is Steve Wooten Jr. So y'all go look him up. He's a really great player. And so he played there the year before. So I would go to practices with him and because I still played. I went to open gyms, and the coach essentially asked me like if I played anywhere, and I was like jokingly being like, I still got eligibility, like I never got to play, and you're just like, you should come play. He was just saying that, and then I actually went and I enrolled, and that was just like the history of it then.
And I want to remind people at this point in the interview that you went back to college and played basketball after How Did I Get Away with Murder?
Yeah,
like,
I was already on
after you won an
television.
Emmy. Like you did all that after you kind of accomplished these things in acting. Why has it been that you've not been able to say goodbye to basketball? Like, what is it about basketball for you?
It's like therapy for me. It's one of the very few things I do where I don't have to think that much. It's instinctual. I think with sports in general, a lot of it is preparing for what you think might happen. Preparing for certain moves you might make, encountering what you think a person might do. And so a lot of it's just you go into it not knowing how the other person's gonna guard your play or how you're gonna play. And so you lean onto your work and your preparation. It kind of carries you through. And I just think that's a mirror image of how I approach everything I do in life, and so as long as I'm able to play, I'm gonna play.
So what we didn't know at the time was that Barry Bonds, former, obviously MLB, all-star, was your coach. He had a ringer on his team this whole time. No one knew until this moment. What was it like being coached by him?
I mean, he's one of the greatest, Major League Baseball players ever, and so it was great to meet him. And he's competitive, which I figured he would be, but he didn't know I could play. He didn't come to the practice, so he just showed up on the day. And so 2 Chainz was my homie, and like I played ball with him, and he told Barry,
also was a former college basketball player.
Exactly, and also a former player as well. He told him like, no, you need to play wrong. Like you can hoop for real. He's like, he didn't know me, he didn't know where I was from or nothing. He's like, okay, cool. And so, the first quarter, I kind of took it easy. I didn't try to do too much. And so the second quarter started, I just started going off at that point. There's no way I'm not going to win this game, but also I'm trying to win this MVP,
Your new MVP is Rome Flynn. Not you, Drewski, I'm sorry. Rome, it's heavy, Rome, but you can pick it on up.
So the truth of the matter is that regardless of which direction you went in, it sounds like we were going to be talking about you at some point anyway, whether you became an actor, whether you became a basketball player. And in a lot of ways, you really get to still do both. What is it like playing against some of these NBA athletes that you play in, even in recreationally? Like, who has been probably the most challenging person for you to play up against?
I got a quick story. So like I said, my brother, he plays overseas. He's been pro for a couple of years. One of his trainers used to be Alex Basil. He used to train Kobe. He trained a lot of great basketball players, and I was cool with him. And one day he texted me, he's like, we're having like a little scrimmage, like a little pro run tomorrow if you're free. He's like, there's gonna be a few free pros there, but nothing crazy. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like I get hit up about doing that stuff, all the time. And so me and my brother go, and I show up. Not only are there pros there, they're Hall of Famers. Like, I'm like, Carmelo Anthony. Right. I see him warming up. I see Karis LeVert. I'm like, these guys are active starters in the league, right? And then I see Kyrie Irving. I'm like, oh, okay, Kyrie's playing. He's just off injury. I'm literally wearing his shoes. I'm like, okay. Langston Galloway was there, who is just a well-known vet in the NBA circles and, played with Team USA. So we scrimmaged, and it was only 10 of us. And so we played, and I was on Carmelo's team, and we won. I think it was pretty even. We may have won one extra game, but yeah, that was tough because there was a couple of times where I got switched off on to Kyrie, and it's like, okay, I want to see what this feels like full speed, like guarding him. Dude was going like 60%, was just like extremely better than just everybody still. Just like, wow. And these guys didn't miss. That was the other thing, is like we played like 10 games. Whichever team missed first lost the game. And it was like the margin for error was so small. I wasn't getting cooked, but I was just getting screened, and Langston was knocking every 3 down to the point Kyrie had pulled me aside. I was like, listen, I want to teach you how to guard that because that's what his job is. That's how he's made a living in the NBA. He can't miss those shots. So I'm like, yeah, tell me what to do because like I can't guard this dude. Like he was just real tough. So that was a crazy experience, probably up there top 3 experiences in my life in general, I would say.
That's crazy. Rome Flynn has given us fadeaways and Frank Lucas. He's giving us Oscar winners and NBA.
Crazy. I mean,
he's an all-star.
They gotta make a movie about my life or something.
Something, right? What a life.